Hello and welcome. This is a PaceMed clinical tutorial. I'm Dr. Aden. We'll be discussing oculomotor nerve palsy. We'll be looking at the anatomy, the course of the nerve, and we'll be looking at the features of oculomotor nerve palsy and etiology. The nucleus of the oculomotor nerve is located at the upper midbrain. Together with parasympathetic fibers from the edingivascular nucleus, it traverses the midbrain. It passes next to important structures such as the red nucleus, substantia nigra, and the cerebral peduncle. It exits the brainstem through the interpeduncular fossa and enters the subarachnoid space. The parasympathetic fibers which supply the pupil are on the outside of the nerve, while the fibers supplying the extraocular muscles are on the inside. It passes between the superior cerebellar artery and the posterior cerebral artery, pierces the dura, and enters the cavernous sinus on the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, above the fourth cranial nerve. It splits into a superior division and an inferior division, and then enters the orbit through the superior orbital fissure. The superior division innervates the superior rectus and the levator palpebrae. The inferior division innervates the rest of the muscles, including the medial rectus, inferior oblique, and the inferior rectus. It also innervates the ciliary ganglion, which supplies branches to the sphincter pupillae for pupillary constriction and the ciliary muscles for accommodation. So what is the function of the oculomotor nerve? The oculomotor nerve has three main functions. The first is the extraocular muscle movement. These movements are subduction, moving the eye upwards, which is an action of the inferior oblique and superior rectus; infraduction, moving the eye downwards, which is an action of the inferior rectus; adduction, moving the eye towards the nose, which is an action of the medial rectus. The second function of the oculomotor nerve is the efferent arc of the direct and consensual light reflex, and the third function is accommodation, which is through the ciliary muscle and the medial rectus. The fourth function is eyelid elevation. So what occurs in oculomotor nerve palsy? So when you have a patient with oculomotor nerve palsy, you have to ask yourself whether it's isolated or it's together with other nerves. If it's isolated, you ask yourself whether it's complete oculomotor nerve palsy or partial oculomotor nerve palsy. A complete oculomotor nerve palsy is when all the functions of the nerve are affected fully. That means you have complete palsy of the muscles, as opposed to moderate palsies, i.e. complete ptosis, and complete palsy of the four muscles that are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. And the eye will be down and out, which are the actions of the abducens and the trochlear, nerves which are not affected in isolated oculomotor nerve palsy. Partial oculomotor nerve palsy is when some muscles are affected while others are spared. This occurs in divisional oculomotor nerve palsy, such as superior division oculomotor nerve palsy or an inferior division oculomotor nerve palsy. Superior division will affect the superior rectus and the levator palpebrae, causing ptosis and impairment of supraduction. And inferior division oculomotor nerve palsy will affect the other muscles such as the medial rectus, the inferior rectus, and inferior oblique, and it will affect the ciliary ganglion, which supplies the muscles to the pupils. If you have a patient with complete oculomotor nerve palsy, then the rule of the pupil applies. The rule of the pupil does not apply in partial oculomotor nerve palsy. Remember, the pupil fibers are on the outside of the nerve where they're easily compressed. You can either have pupil-sparing third nerve palsy or non-pupil-sparing third nerve palsy. Pupil-sparing third nerve palsy is when the pupil is intact and not affected. That is, the pupil is of normal size and is reactive to light. Non-pupil-sparing oculomotor nerve palsy, the pupil is affected, so you have a dilated pupil where you will have anisocoria and the pupil will be unreactive to light. So what are the causes of non-pupil-sparing third nerve palsy? These are compressive causes. The compressive causes could be aneurysmal. This is posterior communicating artery aneurysm or superior cerebellar artery aneurysm, tumors, or ankle herniation. The causes of pupil-sparing oculomotor nerve palsy are usually vasculopathic, meaning that they occur because of ischemia to the interior of the nerve as a result of impairment of the microvascular supply of the inner part of the nerve. The causes are diabetes, hypertension, and dyslipidemia. PaceMed is a medical education platform that is student-focused. We have several programs that are dedicated to medical students from year 1 to year 6. We have online question banks, that is OSCE question banks, history-taking question banks, MCQs. We also have programs for KMPDC students who are foreign trained, and we also have programs for medical officers undertaking the postgraduate exams. Our core values are reflected in our motto, which is Docendo Decimus, which is by teaching, we learn. If you want to learn more about us, follow us on our channels in YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and look at our dedicated website for more.